Today we're going to make this dreamy coconut tart. It's super easy, but I want to give you a few tips just to help you make it with ease. So first we're going to make the tart crust. Start by adding room temperature butter to your stand mixer, and then you're going to add powdered sugar as well. Turn your mixer on to low. Don't turn it on to high or the powdered sugar will fly everywhere. Just turn it on to low and cream it until it's smooth and creamy, about 1 to 2 minutes. Next, add the egg and mix with the mixer on medium-low or low. This shouldn't take very long to mix in, maybe 1 minute max. Now, after you've added the egg, you want to stop and scrape. The butter does like to climb up the side of the paddle, so just make sure you mix all of that butter in. Once you have the egg mixed in, you're going to add the dry ingredients in 3 additions. So this is a combination of all-purpose flour, cake flour, and kosher salt. Add it in 3 additions so that the butter has time to absorb the dry ingredients properly. Then you'll have a really smooth and beautiful dough. Next, we're going to roll out the dough. This is one of my favorite parts of making any tart. So form your dough into a disc, place it on a lightly floured surface, and then sprinkle with it a little bit of flour on top just to make sure it doesn't stick to your rolling pin. Then you're going to begin rolling. Roll in the middle third of the dough and turn the dough about a quarter turn every few rolls. This just helps you to roll the dough out into a nice circle, and by moving the dough, it won't stick to your work surface. If you notice it's sticking in any way, dust with flour, and you can also move the dough around like this and then put more flour underneath if you need to. So roll this out to a 12 to 13 inch circle, and then you're ready to put it into the tart pan. Gently fold the tart crust in half. Take your time, just be careful with the dough, then transfer it to your tart pan. Unfold the dough and be careful, but know that if it rips a little bit, you can completely fix it. It's really easy. Tart dough is very forgiving. As you can see, I have a few little tears, but I left those so that you could see what to do and that this works just fine. You're just going to press the dough back together and it works great. Next, trim the dough with a paring knife. You just want to trim along the edge of the tart pan. This gives you a nice, clean, professional looking edge, and it's really easy to do with a paring knife. Gather up those scraps of dough, use them for something else, re-roll them, and you can make something delicious like mini tarts. Don't throw it away, it's really good dough. So next, we're going to prick the bottom of our tart crust. We want to do this all over about every inch, and we're doing this so that no air pockets or air bubbles form during baking. Pop it into the freezer for 1 hour, and then we're going to make a parchment paper sling. To do this, you need to get a square piece of parchment paper that's slightly larger than the tart pan, fold it, and then go ahead and cut along the edge so we have a nice round shape. Then we're going to cut little slits in the paper. This helps it to slide into the tart pan and form into the edges really easy. So once you have that in the pan, add the pie weights and spread those out and make sure they're pressed up against the edges where we don't want the crust to shrink. Next, you're going to bake your tart crust for about 30-35 minutes at 350. Remove the pie weights, and then you're going to pop this back into the oven for about another 5 minutes. Once that's done, you need to let it cool. So next, we're going to make the coconut custard, and this is super easy and delicious. So we have granulated sugar and cornstarch. We're going to whisk those together, and then add the egg yolks. The egg yolks help to thicken the custard, so they're really important in this recipe. So just give those a good stir and make sure this is completely combined before moving on to the next step. Now we're ready to make the coconut custard. So add whole milk to a medium pot, whole coconut milk as well. This is unsweetened coconut milk, and we're going to add the remaining sugar that we didn't use with the egg yolks. So give that a good whisk, make sure there's no sugar in the bottom of the pot. Then we're going to leave this on medium heat and bring it to a simmer. You know it's simmering when you see lots of little bubbles in the pot. Once that milk has come to a simmer, you want to slowly whisk it into the egg mixture. Do this slowly so that you can temper the eggs. This essentially just means you're bringing the eggs up to temperature so that they don't scramble and cook. Then we're going to return this mixture back to our pot and cook it so that it thickens and turns into a delicious creamy custard. So I've placed my pot back on my burner over medium heat. Don't turn it up high. You want to keep this on a medium heat. Whisk. It's going to take a few minutes to thicken this. Once it's bubbling and boiling, you're going to stir this for 1 full minute to make sure that we get rid of the cornstarch taste and to make sure that it thickens properly. So next, add the butter and vanilla off of the heat. Stir those in until the butter is completely melted, and then you're going to add the coconut and stir. Pour the custard into a heat-safe bowl and then place a piece of plastic wrap directly on top. Press it down. You want to make sure that a skin doesn't form on the custard, and then pop this into the refrigerator for at least 3 hours. Next, we're going to toast the coconut. This is super simple. Spread some coconut out on a sheet pan. This is unsweetened again. Pop it in the oven at 350 for 7 to 11 minutes or until it's golden brown, and then just set it aside to cool. And you can use this to garnish the top of your tart later. Now back to the custard. After it's chilled for about 3 hours, you're ready to add this to the tart crust. Whisk it and so that it's nice and smooth. The custard gets really thick once it's in the refrigerator, so just give it a good whisk and then pour it into the tart shell. Then you're going to use an offset spatula to spread this out until it's smooth. Pop your tart back into the refrigerator until you're ready to finish it. Next, we're going to make the whipped cream. Combine the gelatin in cold water in a small bowl and give it a quick stir. You just want to do this to combine it. Set it aside for 5 minutes. Then you're going to add 2 tablespoons of cold heavy cream, and you're going to put this in the microwave for 10 seconds. This melts the gelatin and it also helps to temper the gelatin so it doesn't seize up when you put it into the cold cream. So next I'm adding my cold heavy cream, powdered sugar, and vanilla to my stand mixer, and I'm going to whip this for about 1 minute or until I reach soft peaks. Then I'm slowly going to add the gelatin mixture that I have here, and I'm gently and slowly pouring this in. I don't want it splattering everywhere. Once I have that added, I'm going to whip this up until I get to stiff peaks. You can add the whipped cream in any way you like, but this is the pastry chef in me coming out, or the baking instructor. I always love to do something pretty to my tarts, so I'm using a French star tip here. This is a Teco 866, and this is my favorite tip to use for doing pretty designs. So I'm just doing a simple swirling motion and it makes a really pretty design, but you could honestly just put the whipped cream on and use a spatula and smooth it out and then top it with coconut at the end. There's really no right or wrong. This is completely up to you, and either way it's going to taste delicious. So there you have it. Hopefully this helps you to make this tart with confidence. It's super easy and super delicious.